So picture this, my friend. It is January 1st, and you're sitting down with a fresh journal and a list of resolutions that are going to transform your life this year. Lose weight, save more money, finally stick to that yoga routine. And then fast forward 3 weeks, and the journal's gathering dust. The resolutions feel like a distant memory, and you're back to square one, except for now, guilt is riding shotgun. Sound familiar? Well, if it does, that's because statistically, did you know that 80 to 91% of resolutions fail by the middle of February? Isn't that wild? So if you are nodding along, you are not alone. And today we are going to flip the script on resolutions entirely. So, welcome to the Magic Mindfulness podcast. I am your host, Rachel Hupp. And, before we dive in, I do want to just take a moment to acknowledge something. The holidays just happened. Maybe it was joyful, maybe it was stressful, or maybe, like for so many of us, it was a mixture of both. This is a season where we so often give everything to everyone else: the meals, the gifts, the conversations, the errands. And somehow we expect ourselves to come out of it with energy and clarity to set ambitious goals for the new year. But let's be honest, that is a lot of pressure to put on ourselves. So if you are feeling drained, if you are feeling overwhelmed, or if you're just not quite ready to jump into this whole new year, new you mode, know that that is perfectly okay. Again, you are not alone. And that is exactly why this conversation matters. I'm going to take you back in time for a moment and share a personal story with you. I was sitting at my desk one evening, and this was a few years ago. I was staring at my endless to-do list, trying to figure out what I had to get done that day. I was trapped in this pattern that I couldn't even see at the time. Saying yes to every request, every deadline, trying to prove my worth through constant doing. I thought that if I just pushed harder, worked longer, somehow I'd finally feel like I was enough. One of my coworkers was heading out and she asked why I worked over so often. And something that she said to me that evening changed everything. She introduced me to this concept of performance punishment. And that's where high performers are actually punished by being given more work, more responsibility, because the higher ups know that you're going to get it done. You're going to do it and you're going to do it well. And she told me, if you do somehow manage to get 60 hours worth of work done in a 40-hour role, you won't actually clear your to-do list. You'll just be expected to do even more next time around. And let me tell you, that was eye-opening for me because that was my reality. The more I did, the better I performed, the more I was given to do, the more I was expected to do. And so for the first time, I saw just how hard I was being on myself. I didn't know that I could set limits. I didn't know that I could set healthy boundaries. I thought that I just had to find a way to do it all, no matter what, no matter what the cost. And so for me, the real breakthrough came when I started paying attention to how this pattern was showing up in my life, not just at work, but in my life in general as well. Every time I said yes, when I was already overwhelmed, every time I stayed late at the office, every time I pushed through exhaustion, I was living by this belief that I had to prove my worth through constant achievement. Have you ever been there, my friend? I see you. Now, for me, the turning point came when I finally gave myself permission to try something different. Instead of working late every evening, I started setting healthier boundaries. I learned to say, I can do this by this date. Would that work? I talked to my boss to get guidance on how to approach people, how to set priorities. Um, you know, when I suggested, hey, if I do this by such and such date, would that be all right? Would that work? I was surprised. Most people said yes. Every time I set a boundary, every time I listened to my own needs, I learned that my value wasn't tied to how much I could do. And that's pretty powerful. Looking back, I can see that all that pushing, all that striving came from not knowing that I was already worthy exactly as I was. I was trying to prove myself. When I realized the need to prove myself through constant doing, I discovered something so powerful. I could trust myself to create success on my own terms. This completely shifted how I think about change, transformation, especially this time of year when we're all feeling the pressure to do more, to be more, to achieve more. And so let's dive into why traditional resolutions often set us up for failure and what we can do instead to create real, lasting change, real, lasting transformation. Now, resolutions are built on the idea that we need to fix ourselves. Just like my story, I thought that I had to prove my worth. Maybe, you want to lose 10 pounds, you want to wake up at 5 a.m., you want to crush that career goal. But when you're chasing these outcomes, it can be so easy to ignore the root cause of why you feel unfulfilled in the first place. Like I said in my story, I didn't realize it at the time. It was subconscious. I was chasing my worth. I was trying to prove my worth. As a yoga and mindfulness coach, I have seen this play out with so many of my clients as well. The harder they push, the more they feel stuck. Why is that? Because pushing harder doesn't address the underlying patterns or beliefs, keeping them in the same loop, keeping them stuck in that same cycle. It's like trying to build a house on a shaky foundation. Sure, the walls might hold up, but sooner or later the cracks are going to show. I'll tell you a story. My own house, my cabin in the woods, when I bought it, the foundation was sinking into the ground. It's on stilts on the side of the mountain. And I said, well, at least it's a happy house. It was crooked and it was sagging. The roof was sagging. And so the house actually looked like it was smiling. So, you know, the house stayed up, but the cracks were starting to show. The roof was starting to sag. The foundation was sinking into the earth. And so it's important to address the underlying patterns, the underlying beliefs, so that you can get out of the cycle that you're in and so that you can create true lasting transformation. What I have discovered through yoga philosophy is just so fascinating. I love yoga. The more I learn, the more I want to learn. And one thing that it has really stood out to me is that when we're constantly pushing, when we're constantly striving, we can actually create resistance. It's like trying to paddle upstream. You can make progress, but you're using so much energy fighting against the natural flow. In yoga, there's this concept of a parigraha or non-attachment. Non-attachment. It's about releasing, letting go of whatever doesn't serve you to create space for more of what truly matters to you. So, to give you an example, a physical example, imagine decluttering your closet. You pull out that dress, that sweater, those jeans that you haven't worn in years, and as soon as they're gone, you notice how much lighter you feel. That's what letting go can do for your mind and your spirit as well. So, take a deep breath. Go ahead and take a deep breath in. Gently let it go. And I'm going to invite you to just take a moment to think about one habit, one thought, one expectation that you have been holding on to because you feel like you should. And then what would it feel like? Consider what it would feel like to let that go. Could you give yourself permission to release it, even for one day? So one of my clients came to me and she was just stressed out about all the ways she thought she needed to fix herself in the new year. Now, she was a classic high achiever, like many of the women that I work with. She'd done everything right. She checked all the boxes. Good job, good home, building a family. But deep down, she felt stuck, unfulfilled, dissatisfied, and even overwhelmed. You know, every January, she told me that she would write down this list of goals. And by February, she'd feel like she was failing. And so when we started working together, I asked her, what if instead of trying to do more, you let go of one thing that's weighing you down? Instead of trying to do more, let go of one thing that's weighing you down. And at first, I have to be honest, this idea made her nervous. It made her uncomfortable, but she decided to trust the process, give it a go, and she gave it a try. She let go of her need to have this perfect morning routine that she thought she should have, the kind with the journaling, the meditation, exercise, green smoothies, all before 7 a.m. And here's what happened. It's pretty fascinating. Once she stopped forcing it, she noticed something that was really surprising. She actually had the time to just sit down with her coffee in the morning and to check in with herself. That small shift gave her the mental space to ask, what do I actually need today? How can I actually support myself today? But here's the thing, knowing what to let go of isn't always obvious. And that's why I encouraged her to reflect on the past year. What moments brought her energy, joy, or a sense of fulfillment? And on the flip side, what left her feeling drained, stressed, or disconnected? And she said that this exercise really gave her a lot of clarity. She realized that clinging to that idea of a perfect morning routine, it was something she thought she should do. It was expected of her as a high achieving, high performing woman in the corporate world. She was busy and she didn't have much time. She needed to fit it in before her workday started. But what she found was that it was actually depleting her. It wasn't bringing her joy. So by letting it go, she actually created space for a more mindful, a more mellow morning. She created space for things that truly mattered, enjoying her coffee, journaling when she felt inspired, and just in general, embracing a slower, more mindful start to her day. And then from there, she started feeling more connected to herself and her choices. Over time, this clarity helped her to create the kind of life that she really wanted, not the one that she thought she should have. So, I'm going to share with you 3 steps that I have found to be really powerful for creating lasting change and true transformation. So, the first step is to trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust your inner wisdom. When's the last time that you truly listened to your inner voice? If you're like many of us, the inner voice may be kind of quiet. We don't often give it a chance to express itself. And so it can take practice to really learn to tune in. So, when's the last time that you truly listened to your inner voice, the one that knows what's right for you, even if it goes against the grain? Now, this step is about slowing down, quieting the noise, whether that is pressure from society, whether it's family expectations, the constant buzz of social media, so you can hear yourself clearly. So start small with this. You might just take 5 minutes in the morning to sit quietly with your coffee or your tea. Instead of reaching for your phone, ask yourself, how do I feel today? What do I really need? And then the second step that I want to share with you today is to create space before adding more. So think of your life like a garden. If you just keep planting new seeds without pulling the weeds, you're just creating chaos, right? So before setting new goals, before planting new seeds, ask yourself, what can I release to make space for what truly matters to me? Maybe it's saying no to one extra commitment. Maybe it's letting go of a belief that has been weighing you down. So, one of my clients realized that she was saying yes to every social invitation because she didn't want to disappoint anybody. When she started saying, let me think about that. Let me take a look at my calendar and I'll get back to you. She was able to create space to see how it really felt in her body. Going back to our first step, trusting yourself. She gave herself that opening to say no, even if it's just to one event a week. But what she found was that she found more time to rest, more time to reconnect with herself. She didn't feel stretched so thin because she was saying yes to what lit her up. And she was saying no to those invitations that either didn't fit in, didn't align with her core values, or just didn't feel like fun. Right? She told me it's amazing how much lighter I feel when I'm not constantly overbooked. And then the third step that I want to share with you today is to choose alignment over achievement. So, what do I mean by that? Well, this, my friend, is where the magic happens. Instead of measuring your success by how much you accomplish, how much you do, how much you achieve, I want you to measure success, or at least consider measuring success, by how aligned you feel with your values. So, as you move through your day, how aligned does your life feel with your personal values? No, for me, this meant shifting from cramming my schedule full to prioritizing the things that truly light me up, from moving from a 1,400 square foot house to a little 700 square foot cabin in the woods. And so, what I have found in my own life and what many of my clients have found as well is that by prioritizing alignment over achievement, we actually end up doing more because we are going with the flow of life. We are moving in a way that lights us up, that energizes us instead of depleting us. And so we can accomplish more by focusing on alignment over achievement. So think about a river. When it flows naturally, right, it moves powerfully, it moves smoothly. But when you try to dam that river or when you try to force it in another direction, it loses that flow. Your life works the same way when you focus on alignment. You can go with the natural flow and rhythm of your life. And so, my invitation to you this year is instead of sitting down and creating a massive list of resolutions, grab your journal, take 3 deep breaths. I do this every morning, one for the body, one for the mind, one for the spirit, nice cleansing breaths. And then ask yourself, what do I need to release to create space for what truly matters? What do I need to release to create space for what truly matters? The magic of transformation, it doesn't happen in the pushing. It happens in the space we create for authenticity, for our true selves to emerge. So I want to share a simple but powerful exercise that I do myself and that I love to do with my clients as well. And I did mention this a little bit earlier, but now I want to walk you through it step by step. So go ahead and grab your calendar from 2024, whether it's digital or paper, and we're going to do what I like to call a do more, do less review. Now, I have created a free printable worksheet to guide you through this reflection process, and you can download it in the show notes or by visiting www.rachelhupp.com/episode 44. Now, this is a simple tool, but it's a really powerful tool. And I like to use it with my clients to help them identify what to release and what to nurture in the new year. And it helps me do the exact same thing. All right, so you can do this exercise by using the principle that I gifted you, or you can just write it in your own journal. So, what you're going to do is just create 2 columns. On one side of the paper, it says do more. What energized me? And on the other side of the paper, do less. What drained me? And you're going to look through your calendar. Again, it doesn't matter if it's digital or paper, but go through your calendar and notice the types of events that energized you, that made you feel good, that you want to do more of in this coming year. And then jot those down in the do more column. And then notice what drained you, what didn't feel good, what didn't feel aligned, what you want to do less of in the year ahead. And just jot those things down in the do less column. And then when you're done with that exercise, see if there are any patterns that you noticed. What's one thing that you can release this week or this month or this year? If you release that, what space would it create in your life? And what would you love to do with that space? So, again, this is simple, but very powerful, very profound. And you can spend as much or as little time on this exercise as you would like. As we wrap up this episode, I just want to bring it back to what really matters. You don't need another resolution, you don't need to push yourself harder. Real change, true transformation, lasting transformation happens when you let go of, when you release what is holding you back from being true to yourself. Now, whether that's perfectionism, whether that's people pleasing, or the belief that your worth comes from how much you can do, letting go creates space for something better. So remember our do more, do less exercise. I invite you, I encourage you to take some time this week to look back at your calendar. Notice what lights you up. Notice what drains you. Download the free worksheet that I created to guide you through this process. You know, sometimes the smallest releases create the biggest shifts. Now, as you step into 2025, I invite you to consider what would become possible for you if you stopped pushing so hard and started trusting yourself more. Now, my friend, if this message resonated with you today, if you are ready to release what's keeping you stuck and step into a more aligned version of yourself, to own your power, to own your truth, the truth of who you are, I would love to invite you to join me in Wildly Aligned Women. We are kicking things off on January 23rd, 2025. And this is not another program about adding more to your plate. It is about letting go of what is holding you back so you can create a life that feels deeply fulfilling from the inside out, a life that is uniquely yours, your wildly aligned life. Together, we'll explore how you can trust your inner wisdom so deeply, how you can release old patterns that don't serve you anymore, how you can embrace your authentic self, the core of who you are, the truth of who you are. Registration is now open, and you can find that at rachelhupp.com/wildly aligned, all one word. I'll include that in the show notes as well to make it easier for you. And the new year is the perfect time to let go, release anything that is not serving you, anything that you don't want to carry forward with you, anything that doesn't align with the highest version of yourself that you want to step into in this coming year. So take a moment with me and just picture a year from now, 1 year from now, we meet on the street and you say to me, "Oh my gosh, Rachel, you're not going to believe how amazing this year has been." Who are you? What version of you is telling me this? What happened to make this year so amazing? Who are you at your core, your heart? Your eyes are sparkling, right? You're carrying yourself with confidence. You trust yourself. You've got this aura about you of satisfaction, of fulfillment. You are literally lighting up the room when you walk into it. What needs to happen? What do you need to let go of to step into the truth of that being, this truth of that person, the truth of who's already inside you that might just need a little bit of help to find her way? All right, my friend, I hope that this episode was helpful for you. Until next time, take a deep breath, release what no longer serves you, and trust that you are exactly where you need to be.